Hi, this is a brief PowerPoint presentation that is required of me by the University of Bath for my unit of application of the HE study skills within the work placement. This PowerPoint presentation is going to consist of me talking about an issue that was raised during a previous assignment for my HE study skills within the work placement report. Basically, I had to report about an issue within a sports therapist's work placement environment and how it affected my work placement and the other issues that were caused by this main key issue, and also solutions, how I overcome the issue or how the issue can be overcome. Next, I'm going to be talking about the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes for this unit are to apply personal study skills and knowledge of the vocational subject to differing contexts and workplace environment. Secondly, to apply and analyse methods and techniques for the effective study of the vocational area. Thirdly, to develop and extend reflective practice skills and the integration of workplace learning. Lastly, to develop a balanced and critical approach to an issue arising in the work placement. Next, I'm going to be talking about the introduction and the background information. The aims for this PowerPoint presentation are to discuss the issue that may arise during a student sports therapist, as stated before in my opening slide, detailing the extent and the issues, producing solutions to overcome the aforementioned in the future practice. Secondly, a bit of background information. When consulting with peers from the class, it was found that overcrowding during work placement was a regular occurrence. Basically, all of us, most of us, go out and we work within amateur sports clubs, not obviously with the top facilities, lack of space, and we're all working within the bench in the middle of a changing room. Therefore, obviously, players putting their bags in the way can cause health risk issues, things like that. And also they can cause other issues as well as, obviously, overcrowding. That can be very severe. Secondly, obviously just a bit of background information on overcrowding. Overcrowding, as you can see in this picture, this is a similar kind of change room with the bed located in the middle. Obviously in the UK we'd have benches going around the outsides. Players would usually drop their bags in and around here while they're getting changed rather than tucking them underneath. And obviously, as you can see, if the therapist was to be working around the bench, concentrating on a client, doing manoeuvres, doing stretching techniques, obviously might not be concentrating on what's on the floor, tripping could cause a health hazard, and then obviously other issues that can occur I'll be talking about in the rest of the PowerPoint. Also, overcrowding is a profound issue as it can be the cause of many lapses to the code of conduct, as like I just stated before, which the code of conduct is also implemented by the Society of Sports Therapists, which me as a University of Bath student, when I graduate, I will have to adhere to. I'll have to abide by it, basically. Obviously, this is a little diagram that I've created just to say what basically I'm going to be talking about in the next few slides. Obviously, the issue of overcrowding in the middle, and then the issues that are caused by it, so the breach of client confidentiality, which we'll be talking about next, cross-contamination after that, unprofessionalism, and then the health and safety breach. So, client confidentiality. Ways that client confidentiality can be affected by overcrowding within a sports team and changing room. First is other players can listen to the conversation between the therapist and client releasing personal information. Basically, if you're treating in a changing room, you've got 11 players around you, they can listen to the personal information and previous medical history that your client may not be too confident about and may not want it to be exposed to the change room. Therefore, you're breaching the code of conduct for the Society of Sports Therapists for client confidentiality. Also, secondly, areas of the client's body may become exposed to other players which the client may not be comfortable with. People are very self-conscious about parts of their body, certain aspects, certain illnesses, certain features that they may not want to be exposed to other players in the change room. By doing the treatment in front of them, if it required them removing a bit of clothing or required you massaging a very, an area of body where they might be sensitive about, you're causing a breach in the code of conduct for client confidentiality because it's being exposed to the rest of the room. Next, cross-contamination. Reasons why cross-contamination can occur as a result of treating within an overcrowded change room are: firstly, it's challenging to keep apparatus clean, as dirty athletes will getting the floor muddy and placing dirty kit on the couch. Basically what that does, it gets your apparatus dirty as well, so then when the client gets on the couch, it can also get him dirty, and it's just passing different substances and chemicals between one another, and it can be the cause of spread of infection or disease. Also, because obviously you got everyone there at the same time, you got a massive number of people to treat before and after the game within such a short space of time. There's not enough time to clean the apparatus between clients due to the high number of injuries within a short period of time. It is an absolute must that a therapist should wash his hands in between clients. Therapist should really clean his apparatus, but as you said, he ain't got time, so he should definitely at least change the couch roll. Put couch roll on before a client, take it off and change it for the next client. Flooding from the communal showers could cause the spread of contagious diseases and bacteria, which could therefore be passed on to the therapist and then on to private clients that are not even within the sports team. So say if, I don't know, the client picks up warts from spread through water, or he picks up verrucas or anything like that, anything that could be passed on to a private client, he could there be for held liable in court, and then obviously may have to cough up some compensation. Also breaching the code of conduct for the Society of Sports Therapists. And professionalism. Overcrowding within the changing room during treatment can lead to the therapist and the clients becoming unprofessional in the following ways. Therapists may become distracted by other athletes during treatment, which could cause further injury. Therefore, obviously, if the therapist may become distracted, then he's concentrating on what someone's saying, but he's still going on with the manoeuvres, not concentrating, might not do it correctly, could cause an injury. The client may not be concentrating, so obviously talking to his mates while you're doing it, and you need him to do certain manoeuvres, might not do it correctly, might push too hard on you rather than matching resistance, could send you flying and cause injury to the therapist. Health and safety. Health and safety legislations can be breached while treating within an overcrowded change room. That's water from the showers could cause slippages. Again, as before, loads of people in the showers, overfills, comes out into the change room area. Therapist is trying to treat a client, not concentrating that the floor's wet, could slip up, could cause injury to the client, could cause injury to himself. That's a health and safety breach. Athletes could obstruct the therapist, causing a collision and also possible injury. So athletes standing around the bed, therapist is doing a manoeuvre, not concentrating that someone could be stood here, could bump into him, cause him injury, cause himself injury, and even could cause the client's injury that he's treating, could cause it to become worse. Lastly, equipment on the floor, so kit bags, football boots, anything like that, goalie gloves, as a result of the lack of space, could cause an obstruction within the event of a fire, also leaving, and also for the client and the therapist that are undergoing treatment in the middle of the room. Obviously, the treatment, if the therapist was to trip over a pair of football boots, he's going to hit the deck quite quickly, could cause an injury, may take the client's leg down with him, trying to keep his balance, could cause possible injury, could lead to a compensation case against the club and the therapist, depending which way the client wants to go about it. Lastly, the solutions to avoid the aforementioned issues. Firstly, overcrowding issue. It can be solved by having set times before games and after for the therapist to treat. So for an example, if the therapist had a time schedule before games for players to turn up early, he could treat them in an empty change room, no cross-contamination, he can keep it clean in between clients, and no risk of bumping into anybody or anything like that, because there won't be anyone around, but it will be empty. Secondly, client confidentiality can be met by providing the therapist with a treatment room or area which also can resolve the issue of overcrowding. So obviously If the therapist has his own room, then obviously nobody in there if there's just the one client at a time, it's just between you and the client, no personal information is exposed to anybody else. Secondly, if you have your own area, he can have his own area where a curtain can be drawn or anything like that within the change room due to a lack of like facility or money, then obviously no areas of the body can be exposed. If the manager's doing his team talk on that, I don't think any other players will be concentrating on what's going on behind the curtain, so maybe personal information might not be able to be heard either, therefore reducing the risk of the client's confidentiality being exposed. Also, if you look at the previous solution above, having set times before the game, if you just have set times for individual clients, then obviously the client confidentiality will be kept then as well, because there'll be no one else around to hear the personal information. Cross-contamination can be eliminated by setting rules within the change room, or again treating before others arrive and ensuring that cleaning takes place. Obviously, if you set rules, if the manager and the therapist set rules with each other to the team at the start of the season and say, look, these are the rules within the change room, making sure that they obviously keep the stuff clean, no dirty kit on the couch, making sure that they ensure that no water's coming in from the showers and other things like that, just to keep the change room clean while treatment's going on, basically. Also, unprofessionalism. Unprofessionalism will also be eradicated by either providing a separate room, again as stated above, or setting rules in the change room whilst treatment occurs. Obviously, if you're treating once again in your own room or at separate times when there's no one else there and there's no one else to distract the therapist and the client, they can just concentrate on the injury and get the job and get the treatment done. Health and safety regulations can be made by the club, ensuring a code of conduct is in place, maybe a poster on the door on the outside, so when they're coming in they're straight there, they can see what they do, if they're adhering by it, kind of thing. Also, if these are put in place, then athletes will know that their bags should be put under benches and not left lying around for the therapist or other players to trip over. And obviously the importance in the event of a fire, making sure that there's a clear pathway for people to leave sensibly without having obstructions on the floor. Lastly, just my reference page, just the references that I used during my written report, and also obviously I've taken the information from there, so I've used the same references again. Thank you very much.